Floods in KwaZulu-Natal left devastation in their wake. Over 400 people died, more were displaced, and a number are still missing. Many remain anxious and uncertain as to how to carry on. This evening, we're joined by psychologist Yasmeen Engelbrecht to explore coping mechanisms in the aftermath of the floods. Yasmeen, thank you for speaking to us. And of course, we aren't just talking about the aftermath of these floods. We're talking about 2 years of compounded trauma. First, COVID-19 and losing loved ones, the fear of dying, being unable to bury family members. Then the July unrest, where people were very much uncertain about their future, unable to access basics like bread and milk or fuel for their vehicles. And now again, these floods. You're very passionate about giving people tools to cope. So let's get straight into them. Where do they start in recognizing that trauma?
And Annie, thank you, by the way. I'm appalled at how little airtime this has actually received. I mean, people really need some strategic ways to some very practical tips to actually deal with what's going on. So the first thing to remember is that we need to do daily work. Daily work. We need to put back into the tank what's been taken out over the last 2 years. So let's start with step one. And my wish is everybody in eThekwini can do this. I'm doing this daily myself. I mean, when I found myself on my yoga mat bawling, I realized this is too much for me with all my tools and all my resources. So I cannot imagine how people are coping out there. So guys, 7 steps, 7 practical tips. The first practical tip is this, and my hope is that people will do this. It just takes 3 minutes every night for 21 days. 21 days is important. We'll build up enough momentum, right? Enough resilience. Okay. 3 minutes every night for 21 days. It sounds deceptively simple, but this is what we're going to do. So the first thing we want to do is we want to silence our worlds. I know we're all in different places. We're living with other people at the moment, but as far as you can, silence your world. Switch the TV off, switch the phone off, and go into silence just for a few minutes, right? The understanding here, we have to understand is we cannot integrate. We can't integrate if we are pushing more stimulus into ourselves. So we're watching TV, we're on social media, we're getting more and more terrified with images, anxiety about the future. We need to hit the pause button for just a few minutes so that our system can integrate what's happened to us in the last 2 years, right? So we hit the pause button. That's the first one. Note your resistance to doing that. We want the TV going. We want the radio going because we do not want to face what we are feeling, because what we are feeling is horrid feelings. So we don't want to face them. So watch your resistance to doing this. You want the TV on all the time because you don't want to face what you're feeling. But if you don't face what you are feeling, we are going to see basically trauma shatters our bodies down the line. We have to feel now in order for it not to shatter us going forward. Second step, you silenced your world. The second step is you need to write down. Guys, very important to write. Don't think it. You need to write down what you are feeling, okay?
Why is that important?
So there's a difference between... It integrates, it helps us to integrate what's going on. And also, as you write down, at first you may write, I'm sad. Then you may write down, actually, I'm angry. Then you may write down, I am terrified. It's only when we write down, it offers us that technique, that way to move towards our clarity. And we need that clarity. We need to know exactly what we are feeling in order to make meaning of it and to integrate it, right? So the way to do this is, and are you feeling anger, panic, terror, these kinds of feelings? Some of us don't know those choices. So go online, get a feeling dictionary. Once the choices are in front of you, you will be able to choose the correct feeling, okay? So the correct feeling, to write it down, super important. With the kids, of course, they're not going to be verbal about it. You need to get them to draw. So you need to say to the kids, okay, draw how you are feeling right now, or draw what your day was like, and just chat with them a few minutes about it. That starts the integration process for them, right? So that's step 2. The third step is that we need to feel the feeling. Now, the big question is, how do we feel feelings? Huge question in psychology. How do you feel feelings? Let me cut through all the theory and give it to you in one straight line. if you are silent with what you are feeling, then you are feeling it. So in our third step, after we silence the environment, after we identify correctly what we are feeling, our third step is to sit in silence for 2 minutes and breathe. That's all. Just 2 minutes and breathe after identifying it. It's more than enough to start this process going. And to consider it, Anli, this is like an ad break between two movies. Just 3 minutes a day. It's very important here it's creating routine. If you are not in your family home, you're with friends, God knows where you are at this moment. But if you need to start getting a routine going with your family, kids need routine. They need a frame. They feel safe. We feel safe. Adults feel safe in routine. So this can create a little routine. 3 minutes a night, make it into 10 minutes if you can. Every night, the family's together. We're discussing what we're feeling. The kids are drawing. It's a routine.
So can you do this together with your kids or with your partner?
Absolutely. That's what I would suggest. That's what I would suggest. With kids, of course, they're not going to want to do the breathing thing, right? They're like, you're not going to get your kids to sit down and breathe for 2 minutes. But if they're just drawing, and if the TV is off, if the phones are off, we're doing this thing, you are drawing, mommy and daddy are sitting here and breathing, that's good enough. So the advice is do this as a family, if you can.
Sometimes feeling those feelings and acknowledging them can be very overwhelming. Are people guaranteed to start feeling better immediately, or is this a process of breaking through those emotions that we've been pushing down in the attempt to just try and cope?
Ali, that's such a great question. Thank you. You know, the surprising thing, and it still surprises me in my line of work for as long as I've been doing it, no matter how bad the feeling is, it can be the worst feeling, and I deal with serious trauma. No matter how bad the feeling is, to be able to identify it, sit for a few minutes quietly and feel it, no matter how bad it is, there is a little pocket of relief. We're not saying it's going to solve everything, but there's that pocket of relief, and that's what we want. We want a little ball. We want the gas to go out just a little from the nervous system, from the immune system. And if we're doing it every day, we're letting out just a little every day, and we're going to be okay. We're going to be okay.
Of course,
if we just allow ourselves to.
Sorry to interrupt you there. The fear for many people is that they're not going to be able to cope. And perhaps, you know, those 3 minutes of saying, well, I felt this now, I've allowed myself to acknowledge it, and I haven't, you know, I'm not devastated, I can still carry on. That's also empowering. But you're saying take it a step further and go out and see the devastation. Why is that important?
It's really important because we need the facts, right? Your mind, your body, your mind, body needs the facts to integrate. Now, what is also interesting in this field is that you learn no matter how bad the facts are, they are never as bad as the monsters we create in our minds. That's in all circumstances. And we've got it pretty bad, no doubt. But if you go out, see the facts, your mind, body can start integrating what's really happening. And maybe some of those monsters aren't as big as you think they are. And so that's the reason we need to go out there and see it. And mind you, it's going to be really hard. I wept when I walked around my community. I couldn't believe it's what a thing to see it, you know, on TV, it's one thing. But when you're walking around your community and roads and buildings you walk on and roads you drive on every day are just gone, it's a hell of a feeling. But we need to feel it. We need to see it. Give yourself the facts to start integrating. And this is the process.
So a lot of people...
another thing...
Carry on, yes.
No, I was just going to go on to making an emergency bag, but please, if you have here.
No, absolutely. That's where I was going to go, as to how do you do that? What do you put into it? And how do you try and start building back resilience?
Yeah, and that's the word, resilience. And that's what we need to start going with. Look, we all know the small things. I mean, there's very little we can do to hold our joy right now in our well-being, but there are little shades of things we can do for our well-being. And if that is the case, we need to be very clear about what these things are. I call it the emergency well-being bag because that's how I operate, right? I'm giving you the tips I'm actually using to get through this myself. So on my mirror at the moment in my bathroom, there's a post-it, and on it there are 3 things I need to do every day to hold my mental well-being, right? As in my field, I need to be also able to hold a space for other people. But if I can't hold it for myself, it's not going to happen. So write down 3 things on a post-it, stick it up on your mirror, or write it on your phone. Let it pop up as a reminder. 3 things every day that you can do, small things that make you feel a little better, that help you generally. I mean, on my post-it, I have meditate, call my friends, and dance, right? Dance for 3 minutes every day. I'm a dancer. I want to hold my joy. Even if it's 3 minutes, it's going to help me. So figure out what those 3 things are for you. You know what it is. We need it to be absolutely visible. We need to remind ourselves every day. Our minds can't, we can't even access these things. We're so overwhelmed. But
and those things are all around us if we just take a moment to have a look. Unfortunately, we have run out of time. Thank you so much for these really practical ways that people in KZN and all over the country can hold on to their joy. That was psychologist Yasmeen Engelbrecht. Very important issue to talk about.